And so here we see Elijah. And over here we see 450 prophets. The subject is going to be, the test was going to be, who can call down fire from heaven? And the 450 prophets of Baal are very, very confident. They start out first in the morning. They build an altar. They cut the bull in pieces. You can read about that in 1 Kings chapter 18, and they put it on the altar. They begin in the morning. And after all, they have the consensus. Can 450 prophets be wrong? Is that possible? When there's so many of them that have exactly the same optimism, the same conviction that they can do this? Of course not. Not with 450. And just like in our churches today. Because our churches and our synagogues, because God also includes the nation of Israel in all of this, as they serve God by their gospel, can they be wrong? 450 prophets. Can all the ministers, all the professors in the theological seminaries, all the Bible teachers, they are the authority. They are typified by the 450 prophets of Baal. They know about judgment. They know about getting fire down from heaven. They have their plan. And so when we go out into the world and talk to any minister who's still in the church, and virtually everyone still is there, we will always get consensus. It will always be, no, it cannot happen. We know. We are the authority. We are the professional theologians. We are the people who have been really trained in the Word of God. We know it is not going to happen. Christ is coming as a thief in the night, and there's nobody that can be right who's saying that he's going to come on a particular day or an hour. It's impossible. And you can check in our church, you can check in that church, you can check in our denomination, you can check in that denomination. There's all the same story. There's consensus, exactly as it was with the 450 prophets of Baal. Total consensus. And so very, very optimistically, these prophets build their altar. They, first of all, begin early, right at the morning. The morning begins at 6 o'clock in the morning. And they begin to cry out to their God, and so on and so on. As the day goes on, by the time it gets to be noonday, we read in verse 29 that they're still crying out to their gods at noon, past midday. It came to pass when midday was past. They've been at it now from the time and with 450 prophets, it didn't take them long to build an altar and kill the bull and cut it in pieces and put the wood on and the bull on and make all the preparation. They had all kinds of help with 450 prophets all there working. And we watch them there. The nation of Israel has been commanded by Ahab to come and be a witness of all this. This is not happening in a corner someplace where it's all being hidden. It's right out there where all the nation could see it, could witness what is really happening. And they are getting, they're getting beside themselves. It is not happening. They're convinced that they can make it happen. The churches are convinced. They know what Judgment Day is all about. They're convinced that what they believe is going to happen. It's going to happen. And they didn't think, these prophets of Baal didn't think for a moment that this human being Elijah, this single prophet all by himself, how in the world could he ever call down fire from heaven? Come on, he's a nothing. He's a nothing. We're 450 prophets, and we have agreement, and we have strength, and we are the professionals. We know. And so they've been at it for all the way from the morning, from 6 o'clock in the morning till noon, 6 hours they're going. And then they even get more and more desperate. And so we find that in verse 28, they cried aloud and cut themselves after their manner with knives and lancets till the blood gushed out upon them. You know, the shedding of blood has to do with death. They were willing to say, we are ready to kill ourselves. We're ready to die because we know we have the truth. We know we have the truth. We commit our whole life to this, that this is going to happen. This is going to happen. And that's exactly what the preachers and all are doing. They are committing their life. They're hanging their life on what they are teaching. It's not going to happen. It's like when I ask someone on the open forum now and then, I say, and someone is really convinced that Judgment Day will not come on May 21, and they try to get cute about it, and they say, I'm going to call you on May 22nd. And then I ask them, what is your proof? What is your biblical proof? Well, Christ is coming as a thief in the night. No, that is a sign. That is one of the signs God has given us, that when people say Christ is coming as a thief in the night and yet we're safe and secure, that in 1 Thessalonians 5, that is an evidence that we're right at the end. This is what we expect to see. That's not a proof. That can be shown to be completely erroneous, because already it said in Acts chapter 1, verse 7, that during the church age you cannot know, but you got to read the rest of the Bible. And so that's not a proof. What is your proof? And they talk. What is your proof? And then I finally, and very candidly and very honestly, I say, this is horrible. Do you realize you're hanging your whole life on something that you have no proof of? How horrible that is. I feel sorry for you. I honestly feel dreadfully pained and sorrowful for these dear people, because they are hanging their life on something that has no biblical proof of any kind. And over here we have the fact that God gives us the information about May 21 with tons of proof, with all kinds of proofs and signs that we right from the Bible, so that we know it is right. But here we find them, the 450 prophets of Baal. And they are ready to commit their life. They're shedding their blood. They're cutting themselves, and the blood is flowing all over the altar because of their conviction that we are the consensus. We are 450 prophets of Baal. We know. And so they continue. They go, it says here, and they prophesied until the offering of the sacrifice. And we'll talk about that later. That would be between 5 and 6 o'clock in the evening, when all of that was finally finished, but we have to get there first. All right, now, finally, it's time for Elijah. And he's got an enormous task to do. Here are this screaming bunch of 450 Baal worshipers. It's a drama that, oh man, you can just you look at it in your imagination, and there are just all kinds of things going on, and all the Israelites are focused on there waiting. When is that fire going to come down? Over here, there's a broken down altar. There's a broken down altar. It says here we read here in verse 30 of 1 Kings chapter 18, and Elijah said unto all the people, come near unto me. And all the people came near unto him. This is afternoon. It's already past midday. Time's a-wasting. He doesn't have the luxury of 450 helpers. He's a lone prophet. He's standing there alone. And come near unto me. And the people came near unto him. And he repaired the altar of Jehovah that was broken down. Maybe it's one of the altars that Jezebel had destroyed, because it was an altar of God. But it was broken down. Now he's there. He starts working, and it consists of 12 stones, and he has to put those all in place. And then he has to put wood on the altar. Then he's got to butcher this calf. He's got to butcher this bull that is going to be laid on the altar. And you don't do that in 5 minutes either. He has to kill that bull, and he has to cut it up and very carefully place it on top of the altar. Time is moving. Time is moving. And then he does something very strange. He makes a big trench around the base of the altar. In verse 32, when with the stones he built an altar to the name of Jehovah, and he made a trench about the altar. All takes time. Have you ever tried to do a project in your backyard? You're going to build a little patio, or you're going to do a little bit of that. How much work do you think you're going to get done in about 6 hours? How much work do you think you're going to get done? And then you have to find, you have to run after this and you have to run after that. And after 6 hours, you look back and say, oh man, I thought I would get almost done, and I'm only a third of the way done. Because time moves. And he's working alone. Maybe he has one young man to help him. Maybe. We don't even read about that. He is working alone. He makes a trench around him. Then he asks for something that was sheer folly. There's been a famine. All the streams are dried up. They're up on Mount Carmel. Mount Carmel, the highest point, is 1,791 feet above sea level. The plateau where they probably were at was about 1,600 feet above sea level. And he asks for 4 barrels of water. Where are you going to get water up to 1,600 feet? Do they have to send a crew down? Somebody has to run down. And the Mount Carmel is right near the sea of the Mediterranean Sea. But you don't do that in 20 minutes either. And so they lug up 4 barrels of water. And then he does something that's just so strange. He pours that water all over his altar. What in the world is going on? And then he says, look, I want 4 more barrels of water, please. And again, another time lapse is going on. They're getting 4 more barrels of water and bringing it up.